Welcome to Pillow Talk.
Okay, so we're gonna just talk about our experience with our personal experience after knowing formal traditions and all the BS that goes with tantra and sexual alchemy or whatever tradition you may have had that dialogue with. But we're gonna talk about how this is just like dreams can be interpreted universally, and you can look at symbols and have these experiences. There's also a way to know your own personal myth of a dream and have that experience and translate it, and then also the basis of any type of sexual alchemy or engagement of the energetic exchange and the changeover from you and your partner, and it's personal. And so we're just going to offer up our own experience so that you can figure out who the hell you are, so that no one else owns your sexuality.
Yeah, there's a lot of formal training and a lot of misinformation and information out there. So we're just going to share our experience without any label of this is how you do whatever. Just this is what came up for us this evening while we were making love.
Okay, so I guess we'll go through the dialogue of what I experienced first. Um, I had so tonight was really a surprising transformational space, and there's been a lot we've been working on, going through Jung's Red Book for over a year now. You have to go through it really slowly, and it has all these activations, and it opens some doorways for me to look at some stuff last night again, as it usually does. And so we were actively doing work on that today and breaking paradigms, and so that was in my consciousness. So the beginning of this process actually started with that initiation of opening those gateways, um, and then I got real sleepy today out of nowhere, and I fell asleep for like 2.5 hours. I was like, "What
Yeah,
is
at
wrong
least.
with me?" Which is not my normal. And then I wanted stimulants. And I wanted coffee, which is not normal for me at night either. But followed my intuition, did that, and I guess I was ramping up my body. And I also ended up wanting some CBD oil, which I don't usually use CBD oil, but CBD oil lets you get out of your brain, or calm the brain, kind of pillow it up, right? Soften it. Um, so followed all my intuition, went through that process, and then we just dropped into a space of connection with the intention of just enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Put on some music, danced, connected in the heart space.
yeah, and it was just simple connection, and then it became obvious that he was starting to hold space for me to move something, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I
And
was. I felt a blockage on her third chakra, and really, all what had happened was I just found myself moving my hands to do some qigong on her third chakra, second chakra, and heart, and then to open the same things on myself, and then we moved further into the experience with that framework.
right, so then he began, and this is while we were already started sexually engaging, and
Right.
so the and then him allowing that movement, what had happened is I started to feel really nauseous, and I was like, I really thought I was going to vomit, and that's never happened to me before. Not even in normal energetic clearings, I don't usually have that sensation. I may have some energetic movement, but it felt physical, and I almost felt like I was going to pass out at the end. Um, but I just allowed it. I allowed it to keep moving. He was supportive and sat with it. And then as we went through it, this is the imagery that came up. And I get a lot of imagery for my interpretation, and I know what my personal images are, so I'll tell you what those are for me. Um, and this goes on for many, many months or plus years of interpretive metaphor, and I'll try to summarize. Uh, so as he was working with me, the first the he's holding space for the qigong to move. I'm feeling. I think I said moo. There must have been a cow in my third chakra.
Mm.
The anyway, and he's just holding space for the energetic support there and doing the work that he's doing. And I'm going, all right, just allow whatever's coming up, and I keep coming up. That letting the energy come up, I have the need to open my mouth, stick out my tongue, start clearing, and let it follow that pattern of feeling nauseous. And I see a big broadsword, huge. It's about like this wide, whatever. and as long as, I don't know, 3 feet or something, and it has a bunch of hooks, curled hooks that go backwards. It handles coming up first. It's coming out of my mouth, and the hooks are meant to grab and do damage, so it's difficult to extract. And so it's coming up deep and out of there, and the bottom third of which would be the top of the sword technically, but the handles first, is already broken and fractured. So it's work that I've already done. And metal and the sword is a metaphor for the mind and structures that are limiting. And anyway, it was coming out of the third chakra, and I think it had been broken apart. That's why it was broken at the bottom third, at the second and first chakra already.
Yeah.
And most of that work was done with our sexual alchemy throughout last year. You know, it had already been like, and that went with all previous video that's about nerve pain. If you go look back, you'll hear about me talking about nerve pain and the physiology of that, and that was connected to these patterns.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, Anyway, so facilitated that out, got the rest of it out, and when the other chunks of the sword came out, the energetic pattern of that, then I saw fire ants, and I was like, oh, just tons of fire ants rushing out after that, and I was like, fire ants, I don't usually see that, but it was symbolic of an alignment I have as a Leo, for me to see as venomous earth, right, or poison and fire on earth, and the role of Leo and Leo's alignment with the process of soul retrieval in the Kabbalist cards, right, or the original tarot deck, I'm sorry, where we were looking at that of fire over earth last week with Leo and the devil, and you doing soul retrieval for getting your demons and blah, 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 blah. And that's a good way to talk about it. No big deal. Just go get those things, pull them up out of the earth, the ground, and let's show them to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like the demons and their gumdrop eyes.
yeah, they're gumdrop eyes. They're cute little black gumdrop eyes. That's how you disarm a demon. Those are the cutest eyes I've ever seen. Give me a kiss. Anyway. Damn it, have a cup of tea. On another note, we'll do another video on how to disarm your demons. Anyway, so that came up as the fire ant, right? That metaphor. And I was like, all right, I'm not used to this symbol. So what does this relate to as I was observing? And it was spiders came up, which I know that symbol. And it was a bunch of baby spiders. And so spiders weave the web of consciousness of this is the entanglement I'm in. This is what I want to engage with. And this is what I want to destroy. And so when I see the babies, that means that there's some concept that I have hardwired in my spirit space, in this case, my soul embodiment, and I'm trying to destroy. And it's all the babies that need to stop rebirthing that engagement in the quantum field, right? In this web entanglement. And so all the babies came out, right? And so I let all that go, burned it off, and he kept supporting by bringing in his energetic. And you want to comment on any of that before I move on to the next part?
I think I'll just share the same experience from my perspective when you're done.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so then what happened after that is I saw at my third chakra a sideways version of a green snake with the yellow stripe, kind of like a king or a coral, but not exactly. There was no black on it. And anyway, I saw that sideways, and it was meant to be sideways in order for me to understand at my third chakra that was like the goat's eye. The goat's eye corresponds back to the aspect of the devil who helps you destroy old patterns. That's the point of a demon, is for you to look at your bullshit. And as he continued to support the movement, a black stripe appeared, which for me is part of the elemental aspect of the middle of that eye, the void, the black hole, unconscious spaces, and pure potential, the Wuji's point. Anyway, it turned sideways, so it came upright in alignment with my chakras, my nervous system, and from the bottom of my stomach, so just above the belly button, all the way up through my crown infinitely, it cleaved me just like mitosis. So I know these metaphors work at the cellular level. It cleaved me so that I separated into two parts, much like the same symbolism of two horns, right? So you're seeing all the metaphor of being able to do the soul retrieval and take your carnal space or your earthly space and your divine space and put them together. That it's the same above and below. So it cleaved, it opened, and it turned into a big black opening. So it took my own personal experience of my own alignment and my perceptual understanding of self as a cosmic body or as a spiritual person. Uh, anyway, instead of it being in the void space and running on the outer ring, which is where mine is on the event horizon, typically it opened and broke my paradigm and it cleaved it so that space time got a fold of undifferentiated information, no grid. And so then I ended up with a flow of river of pure black cosmic emptiness that is supported by the rest of that expression. And that's my personal embodiment. That is not a universal embodiment. We each have different alignments. So that's how my body is currently engaging with my spirit right now. And I'm sure it'll morph. And so if he wants to tell his interpretation.
Well, I don't know about interpretation, but so while she was having that experience, I was having an experience with her. And for me, after that initial unlocking where I felt the need to begin a process, I just moved into an open sexual space. And during that time, I had a belief that moved out. And for me, it was just a conscious thought that had woven its way into my consciousness, um, that I didn't even know was really there and that was defining. And I'm not going to say the actual words because they won't make sense, but the essence of it was that my sexuality was not my own and that it was only a tool for others. And when I released that, it's so interesting because it's a paradox. In this experience that we had, I released an identity of my sexuality only being a tool for healing, while, among other things, using my sexuality for healing. And so that moved out, and I was just making some good love, you know? And as the movement began to intensify, it felt very clear that I needed to energetically push whatever was in her third chakra out of her mouth. And as I was visually connected to the mouth, and then in my sensual space, and also energetically pushing beyond my physical member, um, through the mouth, her mouth opened and I saw her tongue come out. And then that was when she was having all that nausea, and also I mean, and I actually thought she might throw up during that time, but it felt like it was important to just keep going, stay open, and if it meant having to clean the carpet later, okay, but it didn't, thankfully.
Yes.
And so once that cleared, and in her experience, the fragments of the sword came out, um, I changed my engagement to pushing into the third eye, and then into the crown, and then coming back to the heart. And when I came back to the heart, I was able to really come deeper into my own heart space and feeling and unlocking into the heart of my heart. And that was when we started kind of flowing into a space of stillness. And I closed my eyes and I saw a flower open. It was a purple flower. And then I saw it was basically like tendrils and tubes that were all violet and purple. And it felt like just pathways leading infinitely. And I had, whatever those tubes were, I had an awareness that the world was open for basically creation, that was pure creative energy. Time to basically welcome in the experiences that I really enjoy and want more of. And so I just entered into the feeling of, these experiences of connectedness and adventure and, fulfillment and movement and stillness and freedom in a space of intimacy and connection, and just holding that state while being connected and embrace, and then being able to come back into this room that we're sitting in and still be there. And that's that was my experience.
And it's beautiful. And the more that you do that work, when you work with your partner or by yourself, you can do all kinds of alchemy even alone. And you don't even have to try. You can just allow what's there to come forward.
Yeah, which
But
is really what this was.
yeah,
This is We did not start some formal practice tonight.
no, yeah, and sometimes the alchemy of what comes forward is irritating. Because
Yeah,
sometimes you just want to hang out and be together and
right.
not have some big mystical experience. So anyway, but the work that he did with his own consciousness and his shift actually changed how I was processing and feeling in my heart afterwards, because I could feel him more tightly united through my central channels at my heart. So through the core, when I say central channel. If you got questions, you can ask us, but our interpretation is simply our interpretation, and we've got a lot of universal symbolism and understanding that we can probably help you. But his experience of the purple, for example, was most likely my experience of the black, of the void, because of the frequency of how he sees the same thing I see. And so everything is very personal, and you have to know your symbolism. And it's just through observation and doing and learning. Everything has a pattern. You have a pattern, and you can figure yourself out, and we can help you if you need it.
And don't be too damn serious. Enjoy it.
Thank you all.
Good night.